This is Brent Richardson, and welcome to the Business Minutia Podcast, where our focus is on the details of business that are often passed over by traditional classes and leadership training. We focus on the stories of real people who have tried, failed, and learned through their experiences and are willing to share their lessons with others.
In high school, I was the editor of the yearbook, and what that meant is that on picture day for yearbook, all of the different students came through, and I was supposed to look up their form by their last name. And this girl came, and she stood right in front of me, and I just had this blank look on my face. Completely forgot her name. I had gone to school with this girl from kindergarten all the way through our senior year, and now, no idea. And I said, "Can you help me spell your last name?" Seemed like a great way to figure out what her last name was. And she said, "Smith." And I said, "Is that with a Y or an I?"
You tried to get out of it.
I tried.
Jamie, interacting with people is hard.
It is.
Especially for introverts. And what's funny, it's we always like these buckets, like you're either an introvert or an extrovert. No, it's way more complicated than that.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that I'm an extrovert. Not at all. I am an introvert. And people don't agree. Like, I hear you talk to people. No, I think it's just because when I'm around people long enough that I know them all, I feel comfortable, then I come across as a little more extrovert. But the reality is, I'm still an introvert at my core. And you are as well, but I think you used to be more extroverted, now you're more
Very
introverted.
much so, yeah.
Both of us are kind of that way. And you always, these socially awkward moments that we have in these interactions make it worse. They make you not
go
want
into
to.
your shell.
Yes. And so when you're talking about networking for introverts, these are the horror stories that make people cringe and stay home.
Right.
I want to be invited but not go. That's the reason why. And I don't know how many times I'm horrible with people's names. I'm horrible. So I wind up calling them like Bub or Buddy or Guy or something like that.
But that annoys you when we're at a restaurant and somebody calls you
Somebody
Champ.
calls me Chief or Champ. All right, Scooter or something. I can't stand that, right? I'd rather you just, say, hey, or something like that. But I'm also bad about getting people's names. So I've had plenty of cases where I've butchered this and it's so embarrassing and it makes you not want to network or try to go out there and interact. I've also had some stories that it's gone in a positive way. I was with some friends at a grocery store having a weekend out, and we were going to a grocery store picking up some supplies. And there's a group of guys. It was just basically beef, just nothing but meat. We're getting steaks and potatoes and things like that. And this lady grabs me and starts talking to me, and like I'm her son.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at her like I'm sad, like that you don't recognize that I'm clearly not your son. My buddies are looking at me like,
do you know this woman?
Why is your mom talking to you and you're acting like you don't know her? And I'm like, I don't know this lady. And so you talk about socially awkward. That one I actually played well. I looked at her and I said, "Ma'am, I don't know the Steve guy, but he must be wickedly handsome." And I just walked off. But we have plenty of these cases and stories where everybody's got their own horror story of things that they've said in some social interaction or setting, and then for the next 20 years, you beat yourself up about it. And it's usually right about the time you're trying to go to sleep, and then you recycle those arguments over and over to the thing you should have said over and over. So we want to give some tips this week about how to network if you're introverted. And maybe let's first talk about why is that important? Why is networking in general? Why can't I just stay home and let people come to me?
I thought I could just stay home. You're teaching me something here.
Well, what do you want to talk? I guess the way I want you to think about this is this Lone Ranger mentality that I can just go it on my own. I don't need anybody else. This is a really great thing to imagine. It's great. We like movies about the guy that just, or the girl who just does it on their own. They pull themselves by the bootstraps and they just take care of things themselves.
Me.
Also
me.
We like these stories. We like this mentality because we like this idea of the strong independence, no weaknesses. This is not realistic.
Yeah.
Okay. The kinds of problems that you can solve, the kinds of things that you can take on in your life that only you can own, those are going to be pretty small. Those are going to be pretty simple. If you're talking about tackling really big problems, you're not going to be able to go it alone. You're not going to be able to do that by yourself. You're going to have to be open, and you're going to have to be expanding your network. You're going to have to be just improving the diversity of how you look at problems, right? So we want to talk a little bit about that. And this really is it's a stubbornness that some people will have. Like, I just don't need that. I don't want that. Well, that's how you fail. That if you're really tackling a big problem and you refuse to get help, you refuse to incorporate other people, you refuse to expand your network to take advantage of the inputs and thoughts that they might have, well, you're just going to result in failure, right? So you need to expand that network if you're going to be successful with big problems. And so you really have to decide, what do you like more? Do you like winning, or do you like independence? But those things you're going to have to pick between those if you're talking about a significant problem.
And it can be super hard when you've put yourself out there and then ended up getting slapped. It is so hard to put yourself out there.
It is. But you can imagine, like, what if you only had one flavor of ice cream? Some people might be like, that's fine. I just like vanilla, right? But what if you just had one flavor? What if you only had one type of food to eat for the rest of your life? What if you just ate soup, only chicken noodle? Or if you only had one thing? Like, what's the old, can I tell a joke?
Yeah.
Okay, I love jokes. I like humor. So, and very rarely will I have one that's clean enough that I can tell on the podcast, but this one's a good one. And it's an Aggie joke, so I'll tell, well, there's all kinds of versions of it. You can do the blonde version if you want. We'll do the Aggie joke, being an Aggie. And so there's this Aggie that's at a job, and he's every day gets his lunch, and he sits out and has his lunch on this construction site, and this other guy comes up to him, and you can tell he's real sad, and they're up on like the 55th floor of this construction building, and he sits down next to the guy, and this guy says, man, I've just had enough. My marriage is failing. My wife, I think she hates me. She makes me the same lunch every day, and it's just the same all the time. I can't stand it. And the Aggie's like, really? Yeah, I can relate to that. And he's like, yeah, my wife makes me this, ham and cheese sandwich every day, and it's just so mundane. I've had enough. You know what? If my wife makes me this ham and cheese sandwich tomorrow, I'm jumping off this building. And the Aggie says, you know what? I get peanut butter and jelly every day. I'm sick of it too. You know what? I'm going to jump off with you. So the next day, guy comes up, opens this sandwich, ham and cheese again, jumps off the building. Aggie looks at his peanut butter and jelly, jumps off the building. At their funerals, the wives are talking together, and one wife says, I thought he liked ham and cheese. It's just devastating. I don't understand what went wrong. And the Aggie's wife says, no kidding, man. He's been making his lunch for the last 20 years. So I don't get it at all. I'm at a total loss. If you only had one kind of food forever, that's not good. You need some diversity. Yeah. Maybe not the best joke to communicate the point, but at least you got to laugh and it's free. So we want to talk a little bit about, how do you go network? Okay, so maybe you need to go do this. You have to be able to go do this. You probably in your core know, I know I need to, but I don't like it. I would much prefer to not. The network is more than just you need it for your success. I stay where I work in large part because of the relationships that I've developed with people around me.
Right.
That's the part that really makes it rewarding. Working with really great people.
It's the community.
Now, gaining that network is the part that's painful for people. Once you have the network, I don't know that I've ever met any introvert that's got a good network around them that says, I hate it. I can't stand all these friends and people that care about me. I don't know that I've ever heard anybody say that. What they say is painful to get there. Hard to get there, hard to bridge the gap and reach out and connect with people.
You have a fascinating skill, though, that I don't think that most people have. You can connect with anyone about something. You can find something that you have in common with every person you meet.
I couldn't when I first started.
But it's a very unique skill.
Yeah, it's just a muscle it's a muscle that you stretch.
Right.
You're practicing this, right?
Right.
And you get better at it over time. This is not something that I say it's not something you just immediately know. Some people do. Those are your extroverts usually.
Right.
They just naturally come out of the womb like, where's the party at? And they're ready to go, and that's
right.
And they're the life of the party. They're those kinds of folks. And introverts, those people drive us crazy, right? Those people drive us insane. What are some of the common thoughts about introverts? Why might a person? Can we do like a top 5 or 10 list here? What are the top reasons why an introvert won't do this?
Well, and the thing is, people read into introverts' behavior or lack of behavior or something they say, meaning assuming that they don't like you or they're being rude or they're being judgmental. And that's not necessarily the case. I mean, like sometimes introverts just want to be invited to the party, but they're not going to go.
Exactly.
But they don't want to be left out of the invitation.
Classic introvert joke of I want to be invited but not go.
Right.
Right. I don't want to be excluded, but I also don't want to be there.
And don't hug me.
There's nothing like watching an introvert cringe when I hug them. And I'm introverted myself, but it's a spectrum, right? And now if I can tell somebody really doesn't like that, I'm not going to do it. Right. That's just a little bit too much.
No, extreme extroverts, when they know that I'm uncomfortable with hugs, they will like full force hug me with their arms and wrap their whole body around me.
Once I know a person's that way, I tend to do that as well.
Yeah. And here's a clue. If I say, let me check my calendar, usually that's my way of saying, I am really not interested and I don't know how to say no, because really, my calendar is pretty empty.
Let me check. Just, yep. Oh, sorry, I'm busy.
Yeah I didn't even tell you the date. Oh, yeah, but I already know that I'm busy.
Or how about the if I do show up and then somebody being like, hey, why don't you speak or do something here? Or can you sing? Do you play piano? And watch them just be like, this is why I never come to anything.
Right. And if I have shared a story with you, that doesn't mean that if we are out together, put me on the spot and ask me to share the story with everyone. I trusted you enough to let you in on the story. That doesn't mean that I want to be center of attention.
Yeah. And in the virtual world, I think this is way more challenging, but it's still, it's challenging to go network, but it's still super cringy for introverts because I don't know how many meetings I've been on and somebody say, hey, since there's no, I'm bad about doing this too. Hey, nobody's really answering my question, so I'm gonna start calling on people. And then you're like, don't call on me.
And dude, icebreakers, man. Icebreakers are the worst for introverts.
Right. Please don't make it be bad. Please don't give me some crazy, terrible. I'm trying to think what the worst icebreakers are for introverts.
Oh, surely nothing about a deserted island.
Come on, that's not bad. I mean, that one I don't mind, and like the, what kind of cereal do you like? That kind of stuff is fine. But every once in a while, you'll get somebody that hits you with one that's like, okay, you're going to stand up and you're going to show us your favorite dance. Okay, I'm going to go light myself on fire now. That's like the opposite of what I came here for, and I'm never going to do this again, right? That's just ridiculous. Come on, or sing us a song. What? And I have had both of those have happened. You're going to come open with us. What? No, I'm definitely not. And I'm never coming to your event again.
Right. And the assumption that extreme extroverts have is that introverts want to be included. They want to be brought into the middle. They want to be extroverted. They just don't know how to be.
Yes.
And that's not always the case.
What's the other introvert joke? Is it introverts unite at home separately?
Right.
So, all right, we've beat this enough. Being introverted, still you need to go network. And networking is important. Networking is valuable. So how do you do it? Let's talk a little bit about how you go do this. So we're going to cover this in two ways. I'm going to talk about what you should do, and then we're going to talk about what you should not do. Okay. The first thing I would say is attend non-work activities. We're talking about networking for business and work success. Okay. But one of the best things you can do to get practice, to exercise that muscle, is to start attending non-work activities. Why is jumping straight into work activities dangerous?
Well, because there's already a hierarchy at any job, right? There's already, you make more money than I do, you have this job title, and if you're meeting, at a gardening group, or you're going to the library, or you're bicycling, you're all on level ground.
Yes.
And if you can get rid of those titles and actually just get to know people as people, then it can help you.
And aren't you also kind of worried about, okay, if I act like an idiot or say something stupid, that's going to reflect on my performance.
Right.
So I don't know that that's really true, but it's in your head at least.
Yep.
So I think getting some experience away from work is a good idea to kind of exercise that muscle, as we said. What are some examples? Church events. Alma mater events. A lot of times universities will have gatherings and activities, in your city, meetups that are associated with your hobbies. Things associated with hobbies are really great examples of ways that you can get out and expand your network. And, you'd say, well, how's that helping me with my corporate gig? I have friends that I've had for years associated with hobbies, and it's amazing over time. It starts to cross over into my corporate life, into my business life, where I start to, hey, you know that guy? Yeah, I do know that. We happen to be in the same industry. And now I've got a new network connection.
Well, and I have actually seen people at meetings like that where they are introverts that I knew, but they are leading this group and they are in their element and they are doing their thing. And you would never peg them as an introvert in that setting.
But they're experts at that.
They're experts at
and
that.
they feel comtemple with it.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've exercised the muscle enough that they can go do that.
Yeah.
And it's still, they probably still cringe when they see somebody that they don't know come in, but they have enough confidence that they can go continue to do it. I agree. I've seen that before as well. I think you want to be careful and choose activities that don't drain you. Right.
Yeah.
And we'll get to this later as well, and hit it again. But you've got to pick things. If you're an introvert, like going out and networking is draining your life source, and you've got to be able to balance that. Right. So pick things that aren't sucking the life out of you.
Well, and as a parent, a lot of times these non-work social events are around your kids, right? It's Little League, it's PTA, it's whatever your kids are into.
Yeah.
And that can definitely drain you.
Yes. Now, once you've mastered that, you can come in and bring it inside of work, sort of. Right. So you can, while you might have activities outside of work, another example we didn't hit on, but I guess it could go into the church event thing or softball leagues. There are softball leagues outside of work that people get involved in, or sports leagues and bowling and things like that. But those also exist inside many companies.
Right.
You may have a company softball league. You may have a company chess team. You may have all these different things that exist inside the company. Those are also really great networking opportunities because the playing field changes. You don't have that hierarchy quite the same. There's still some, right? So it may not be the best first place to start if you're really sensitive to networking and it's really not your thing, right? Because I've met plenty of people that I've had meetings with people for an hour where they say 2 words, right? That's not a problem because I don't mind talking, but it's still for those folks, it might not be best to jump off straight into one of these social, non-work. I'm saying sort of work related, right? Might not be best to jump into those, but eventually, when you're ready to stretch your wings a little bit and try, that's a really good next stopping point that you can try. So you've got inter-office volunteering. Sometimes you give to gain there. There are places, volunteering with folks is a great example. And most companies will have opportunities to do things like that with Habitat for Humanity. And then the playing field does level, right? And so that's an opportunity you can network. And then you bring it into the workplace, right? How do you start to do this inside the office? So once you've exercised those muscles, you've got to where you can socially interact pretty well, which really means that you're okay with taking a beating every once in a while when you say something stupid and it's not the end of your day or end of the world, right? And you got to develop that confidence. Once you get past that, then you can start to go, okay, how do I expand my work network?
Yeah.
How do I make this strategic for me to be successful? I think extroverts will value this as well. Again, it's a spectrum. It's not a dichotomy that way. But here's some tips that I'll give about how to go expand your network in the workplace. The first thing I'd say is make it organic. The more natural you can make this, the better. We've talked about this a lot here the last few weeks in episodes. We all recognize an agenda, pretty quickly when someone's talking to us and they want to sell something to us, right?
Absolutely.
So you don't, and you think about the relationships that you have. How many of those are really agenda heavy, right? I don't like those kinds of relationships, right? I recognize that some of those do exist. But I don't want it to be that way. I don't want it to be heavy agenda based, right? So you want to try to make it as organic as you possibly can. When I think about this, the first thing I think about is the line from Dumb and Dumber where the guy comes out of the 7-Eleven. There's the 2 guys sitting outside and he goes, "Big gulps, huh?" Alrighty then. Right. So you don't want it to be awkward like this. You want it to be as organic as possible. How do you do that? How do you make it organic? Ask for help. Let's say you're working on a project and somebody else that maybe you think, well, they really don't know as much as I do. Doesn't matter. You can still go ask for help. Do you like being asked for help? If somebody asks you for help, how does that make you feel?
Oh yeah, it makes me feel appreciated, like I have some expertise in this area.
You feel like you're valued.
But it's so counterintuitive. It is so hard to start a conversation with someone when you're trying to expand your network.
Yes.
Asking for help.
Yes.
That is so counterintuitive.
But it makes sense. You're going, because for example, I'm working on a new project and I think you have some expertise on this. Can I bum an hour for you just to get your thoughts on it?
Right.
What's preventing you from doing that? Anybody can do that, right? That's something that you could do.
Fear of them saying no.
Well, what are they going to say?
Right.
What are they going to say? Nah, and you know what? If they say no, you don't need them in your network.
Right.
Right? You don't want them in your network.
Right.
That person has got a separate kind of problem, and I wouldn't want them in mine.
Well, in addition, you have to realize the person that you're talking to. And if they say, I can't do that, but you need to go talk to Bob or you need to go talk to Mary, don't assume that they're blowing you off.
That's a valid point. And a lot of this, especially when you think about company hierarchy.
Right.
If you just started at the company and you go 5 levels up and say, hey, I'm working on a new project. Okay. Oh,
hey, Mr. CEO.
I'm talking about people that are your peers,
right?
Expanding your peer network, right? Trying to work up like that is a little bit different. You can still do it, but you got to be careful how far you're jumping because you're probably going to get exactly like you said. Yeah, go talk to my report over here. Right. He's gonna get you hooked up. Thanks. Get out of my office. Another way you can make it organic. Be efficient. So, for example, just making sure that you're not reinventing the wheel. So, hey, example of what I might say to somebody. Hey, I've been working on this new project. I just want to be sure that I'm not recreating the wheel here, and I don't want to go through things twice. And can I run this by you and see if you've seen this before somewhere else, and maybe there's a solution I don't know about, just to get me pointed in the right direction.
Right.
Nothing preventing you from doing that.
Right.
And they're going to be like, yeah, I'll see what you're working on. Now, again, they may be like, I could care less about this.
Right.
Okay, exclude them from your network. Move on to the next one. Yeah. That's not the end of the world. How about leveraging your boss? Y'all use this one as well. Now, not without my bosses knowing, but I'll say, hey, I'd like to go connect with this person. Can I use you as a reference that you'd recommend me go talk to him?
I will use that in the subject line. Brent sent me your way.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to name drop here.
Yeah.
I don't want to use that. This is not my stand. This is not something I'll do on a regular basis.
Right.
But especially if the person is maybe a layer above me or something like that, I might do that. I might say, hey, Tom asked me to come reach out to you to align on this item.
Right.
Let me know if this 30 minutes will work. If I'm moving up the chain, I may not go for a full hour. Right? Just to be respectful of the person's time, you might go for a half hour instead of a full hour. But these are just some ideas to make it organic. When it is organic, introverts feel a little more natural. It feels a little more natural. They feel a little more comfortable with having those kinds of connections. So just some things to consider and think about as you continue to expand your network.
But as you're expanding your network, there is definitely a strategic advantage that introverts have, and that is that they are usually good listeners.
Yes, absolutely. You should take advantage of this. So in terms of here are the things we recommend that you do. Take advantage of your strategic skill set here, which is you should be a good listener. Most introverts are quite good at listening. They're good at processing information, and you want to take advantage of that. And now, on occasion, you'll see people who are introverts, and then they'll get in a room and feel like they got to fill the air with as much, nonsense as. But don't do that.
No.
Don't be the opposite of you. Go in and ask good questions.
Yeah.
Come up with some good questions in advance, not crazy questions that you. We'll get into the don't in a second, so I want to skip that. But ask good, clarifying questions and pay attention to the answers.
Right.
Don't go, all right, what's my next question? And don't listen. That's something that I think introverts can be bad about too. They've got their list of questions in their head. They ask it and they go, all right, I got that question out without botching it.
I did it.
And they're, oh man, what's the next question? And then they don't even listen to what the person is saying, right? So, okay, you're not expanding your network there, because if I'm sitting on the other side of the table from you, I'm going, all right, I don't know what's going on with this person, but they're not processing anything. Why are they here?
Right.
They're not processing anything I'm saying. But if you can ask good questions, and your next questions can be really good questions if you're listening, if you're paying close attention, this should be a strategic advantage for you. And then the last point in the definitely do list, I'm going to give recommendation for, and again, this is more specific for introverts, but I mean, extroverts would get some value from it too. Set boundaries for yourself in terms of your time commitments and what you're doing here. If you try to go hit every night of the week some kind of activity, or try to spend all of your day networking and trying to spend all of your day trying to go have these meetings with people you don't know, you're going to find yourself at the end of the day going, I hate this. Space it out.
Well, and it's like starting a workout, right? And if you start a marathon training by just going out and trying to run a marathon, you're going to be very sore and you're not going to finish the race.
Yep.
You've got to look at this as a slow progress.
Stretching the muscle a little bit at a time.
Right. And if you go all in too fast and try to do too much, you're going to wear yourself out.
Yeah, I've asked people before, have you ever tried to go talk to that person? I tried talking to somebody one time.
Right.
What happened? What went wrong?
I had a bad experience.
Wow. All right. I'll just leave you alone and let you suffer over there by yourself
Yeah.
and work on things that are pretty meaningless. Because you're not going to work on significant projects and big things if you can't network.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to be pretty limited. Okay. Those are the things that you should do. Now for the part where we get into some rant here for Brent. But let's talk about the don't do this items. Okay. Don't have unrealistic expectations about your relationships that you do start to develop. This is another thing I see that introverts will do, and I was bad about it early on, is I'd find somebody that actually would listen to me. I find somebody that, I have a friend. And then it was my precious. And then I just smother the heck out of the person. They'd be like, wow, dude, could you, 10 feet is nice.
Right.
Let's get a little bit of space here. So you're not going to be able to accelerate relationships like this. It's just going to take time for your network to grow and for people to trust you and for you to be. So you're going to go have that meeting with that person and you're going to say, hey, so for example, the case we did earlier where we were talking about go and talk to the person for help. Say, hey, I'm working on this. Can you help me out? Maybe you have the meeting and it goes well and you're like, sweet. And then you stop by the next day and you just sit in their office for an hour. Whoa, easy.
Right.
You don't know each other like that yet. So make sure you're calibrating your expectations on what those relationships looks like and you don't become like a stage 5 clinger, okay?
Right. And this is going to be a little bit of a touchy one, but don't assume that every friend on Facebook is actually your friend.
Yes.
People are so crazy on
Yes.
Facebook,
Yes,
and they are
are.
not necessarily the same person.
Can we
in real
extend that
life.
statement to politicians? Don't expect every politician cares about you. That's like I don't know. I try not to talk about politics, but people, especially on Facebook, they're like, I don't understand. This politician's right. Dude, those politicians don't care about you, man.
Right.
They don't care about you. That's like this. It's the equivalent to being like, these people on Facebook like my post. They must be my best friends.
Not the same.
That's not how that works.
I'm not sure why these are called social networks. 'Cause
That's
they're not really
not.
social.
Yeah, antisocial network. All right. And then in the don't do list, this one bugs me, right? And I've gotten on people that work for me in the past to be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't stare at your phone. Don't stare at your watch. If you're trying to actually engage people, okay, and develop your network, looking at your phone and staring at your watch, and the watch has made it worse with the smart watches.
100% agree.
And I understand you're getting a text message or something and you're just glancing at it, but that's not how it looks to people.
No, it looks like are we done here?
Yeah, it's
are we done?
Hey, thanks for talking to me for 10 minutes, and you're looking at your watch and all I see is, am I wasting this person? You
Right.
came to me, clown. I didn't come to you. I mean, why am I really wasting your time? That's ridiculous. So put the phone away, put it on silent mode, turn it off, put it in airplane mode, whatever you got to do, put it in your pocket, leave it in your car, right? If you're talking about an after work event, whatever you need to do to make
Right.
sure you're fully engaged. And it may be uncomfortable for you initially, because as soon as things get awkward, what do? Grab my phone and look like I'm busy,
Right.
right? Come on, stretch the muscle a little bit. When that awkwardness kicks in, all right, well, wait for a second, look around, find somebody else to go talk to, right? Stretch
And
yourself
ask
a
them
little
about their big gulp.
bit. Ask them about their big goal. Ask them about their phone. All kinds of things you can talk about. Don't look at a piece of paper and read your icebreakers. I have had this happen as well. I have had people meet with me and they'd be like, all right, I've got my list here. How about, did you catch the game last night? Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me, man? Wow. I feel bad for you, but come on, people. You can do better than that.
They spent time Googling how to open a conversation with their boss.
Hey, I just felt sorry for them, right? I really did. And I said, hey, I appreciate they were trying, but come on. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't look at the piece of paper. Grab a couple things you can remember. Now, I'm not saying you don't have some notes that you brought with you on specific questions you might ask. I've had that, and that doesn't bother me. But I expected the question to be, hey, what does this acronym mean? I ran into this last week. Can you help me with the? Not like an icebreaker. That's weird, man. Come
What
on.
size shoe do you wear?
What size shoe do you wear? Like, There's this great video we'll have to post on the site. It's one of my favorites that I joke. I said I wasn't going to talk about this, but I can't help it. I have to talk about it. It's this great video. It's some like not a, those like pseudo steakhouses. It's like a steakhouse, but it's a cheaper steakhouse.
Right,
It's like
right.
a Sizzler,
Yeah.
that has like a buffet, and they have these training videos that they used back in the 80s of trying to teach people how to have a conversation with a customer.
Yeah.
And so they have this guy, and they've basically coached him on like 5 things that he says.
Right.
And then they have the video trying to train other people. It is hysterical. And I joke with our oldest son all the time. I go, hey, when you're trying to meet somebody, he's like, what we were having a conversation one day about having conversations with the opposite sex. I go, well, when you're trying to meet a girl, you can go, and I showed her that video. Just use all these lines. And the guy said, what does he say? Did you catch the game last night? Have you tried the lasagna? Did you see the weather out there? Those kinds of things. And except now we joke about it is instead of asking questions about the weather, we just kind of be real awkward, tell them you're homeschooled, and then say, do you like weather? Okay, I'll stop. All right, rant time. Don't become clearly agenda focused so as to cause people to avoid you.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about you LinkedIn people. LinkedIn people, I must get, I don't know how many notifications a week. Hey, I just trying to connect with you regarding your vehicle's extended warranty. That's how it feels. Oh my
Right.
gosh, with the
Right.
vehicle warranty thing, stop it. And that's nonstop LinkedIn stuff that I'm just getting berated about. And every time I can look right away and say, dude, you don't care about me. You don't care about what I'm doing. Now, I get it. You got to sell, right? I'm not suggesting
Right.
you don't cold call. Those are all sales techniques that you need to do. If you're legit trying to network with me, that process, that method won't work.
Right.
It will not work.
Right. I get messages all the time. Are you looking for guests for your podcast? I love your podcast. It's changed my life. I always reply back with the same question. What has been your favorite episode and what'd you gain from it?
Exactly.
I have yet to
Yeah.
get a response.
Yeah. Did you see the episode about liars? Okay. I don't want to hate them. No, there's some really great Instagram, and they maybe have something on Facebook as well called the Best of LinkedIn. And you can go see, they'll grab LinkedIn posts that people will make. Okay. Now I post on LinkedIn as well. I try, and I've messaged some of my friends and said, hey, if I ever post stuff like that, just drive to my house and kick me in the face, right? Because I don't ever want to be that person, man. It just drives
Right.
me crazy when I
Right.
get these messages, and I won't respond to you because I have things to do.
Yeah.
I don't have time for this. Okay.
Yeah.
End of my rant. All right. On the don't do list, don't talk about politics or religion unless you are really skilled at this. I have gotten, I think, to the point where I've gotten good enough at the networking process that I can talk a little bit about this stuff very carefully.
Right.
But I don't recommend it. I recommend that you not. I'll joke about it, but I'll joke from the middle. So I'm not picking any kind of
Exactly
side,
right.
which is also where I land on everything. But I'll joke from the middle and talk about something. I said a Ted Cruz joke last week. It worked, but it was dangerous. It was dangerous. But those in Texas can appreciate a good Ted Cruz joke, hopefully, unless you're hypersensitive about it. But you have to be really careful
Right.
about politics and religion. Talk about something else.
Right.
That's dangerous business. And the last thing, my last item on the don't do list, and I have so many stories here that I could tell, and none of them are appropriate. Don't be careless with your mood altering substances. Okay. What am I talking about? I'm talking about you go to the after work happy hour,
Right.
and you go like Frank the Tank,
Right.
and you have 3 tequilas,
Right.
and then you all of a sudden go from introvert to I don't know what you are.
Dancing on the table.
Yes. And like some people don't know how they are when they get a little bit of alcohol
Right.
in them. But I've never, fortunately, never been out with the people. But I had an introvert that I was mentoring and training early in my career, and I would hear from people that like, "Hey, don't go out with that guy. Don't go out with that guy because he will rage when he gets a couple of drinks, and he just gets, he
crazy.
turns into this angry beast, and he's breaking things." And I'm like, "Oh man, I tease that guy at work too much. He might beat the snot out of me." So I'm glad I never went out with him. But you need to go easy on the sauce.
Well, see, it's not that introverts don't have emotions. We just don't share the emotions.
That's right. That's
we
right.
don't tell you what our emotional state is.
And once that inhibitor's gone,
Yep.
better be real sure you can control it. Dangerous. Easy, Tiger. All right. Fun episode. Fun things to joke about. But look, networking is serious business. Like if you're really ambitious and you want to accomplish and tackle big problems, introverts can be successful leaders.
Oh,
Very
absolutely.
much. Yeah, I think early in my career, I thought, well, the leaders are all going to be the tallest white guy. No, that's not true at all. I've seen plenty of cases, more than the opposite, more the other way,
Yeah.
where a different perspective offers something very creative in the way of solutions and leading people.
Outside the
right?
box thinking.
Very much. So lots of opportunity for you to grow there, for you to get better. If you don't, you're going to keep working on simple stuff, because stuff that only you can work on is probably going to be substantially simpler than what you could work on with a team. Hope that helps you. Have a good week, folks.